Welcome. In front of me is a Samsung Galaxy S21 FE, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick overview of this phone. So anyway, as you can see, this is the packaging that comes in, and just before I actually get into it, I kind of want to mention it because the box does stand out a little bit. It has this literally like engraved symbols in the box, which I find that kind of interesting, a little bit different, fresh take, so I just kind of wanted to point it out. Now, unlike other brands that I really like for doing this, Samsung is not one of the ones that includes those like pull tabs, for instance, like the Google Pixel does, with, as you've probably seen, these little things where you can just kind of like grab them and pull them off. So we just need to literally cut it, though I can't really do it with my fingernail. So let me grab something that I can actually use for this. There we go. So let's pop it open. We do have some paperwork in here. I'm actually not going to take that out. It's just the instructions and trash like that. So let's be honest, no one really cares about it. Then in here we got the phone, and just going to set it to the side for now. Under that we got, there we go. We got, oh, okay, so the cable is inside of this thing. Yep, there we go. There's our cable. It's a Type-C to Type-C, though for some reason I do know that this is supposed to be a more like budgety version of the S21, and that's fine, but they just feel like some Chinese like super cheap cable that has been neatly wrapped up. Like, just the way it looks like, it just feels like it's the most budget thing that you could possibly get. So anyway, and here we also got an instruction, so just eat that to the side and move over to the phone. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now it does come with this matte finish, which I actually didn't know, though it seems plasticky. Anyway, let's turn it on. So, going quickly over the specs, we're looking at 6.4-inch display, 1080p by 2400. It's a dynamic AMOLED display with 120Hz refresh rate, HDR10+, and 85.3% screen-to-body ratio, along with 411 pixels per inch because of that resolution. So this is just like the typical specs, to be honest. The 120Hz does seem good for the price that this device comes at. So that I'll mention that. Let's quickly set up the device right here. Alright, it's Samsung, so apparently I cannot skip a Wi-Fi connection, because why the hell would I be able to not connect to network when I get my brand new device straight out of the box? There we go. So now that I'm connected, I can actually finish up the setup. So before before this is finished, I'm gonna continue with the specs right here. So like I mentioned, I basically already went through all the specs of the display, so we can move over to the cameras, which are at the back. Design-wise, it looks similar to like the S21s, but it's not. And as you probably were aware, I believe in the S21s, the camera bump actually goes over to the frame, while here is just like a more of a stylistic just decision to keep it the same way, but that's about it. But yeah, under that bump we have a 12 megapixel wide sensor, 8 megapixel telephoto, and 12 megapixel ultra wide. Honestly, this is not really wowing me right here. And at the front we got a 32 megapixel wide one, which is a really interesting kind of perspective in this case, to have a 32 front facing camera but then 12 megapixel wide back. Oh, okay. Now, as you've seen, the device needed to restart after connecting to network for some stupid reason. God knows why. No other device does this nowadays, I think, apart from Samsung. Even like Sony doesn't do it anymore. And just the reboot itself, for some reason, made the phone warm at the back. Like, I can literally feel it being warm for some reason. Now this is running a Snapdragon 888, so it should be blazing through basically all the content. It shouldn't be really struggling with setup right here, so I don't know why it's getting warm. So while this is still going for some reason, because it's the longest setup, I'm gonna continue with the specs right here. So we're looking at a couple different versions of the device in terms of like storage and RAM. The base model is 128 GB storage with 6 GB of RAM. Then you have 128 8 gigs and 256 8 gigs. So the base one, 126 gig storage, and the max one is 258. So just a difference of like 2 GB of RAM depending on which one you go for. To be fair, I think any of those should work just fine, so you don't need to worry about picking one and later on, I don't know, feeling kind of sad that you picked 6 GB of RAM and it's not performing well. I believe it should just perform really well no matter what you pick. And this is taking forever. I'm just gonna let it lay here and finish up. So lastly, we have a built-in battery of 4500 mAh battery. We do have wireless charging at 15 watts, and we are looking at fast charging, quotation mark fast, at 25 watts, which puts the device at 50% in half an hour. So it's basically the same thing as you would see on, for instance, like the Google Pixel 6, though Google Pixel 6 has a bigger battery, I think. Let's just pick some search engine, skip. Now, one thing that I'll have to point out right here, because the pricing of this device puts it exactly at the same price of Google Pixel 6. And to be fair, Google Pixel 6 on paper might not seem like such a decent choice between this one. Obviously people have preferences between like Samsung and Google, and in terms of displays, Samsung has a better display, higher refresh rate, same resolution. What else is there? Same resolution. I believe this one is a little bit curved, unlike the... Oh, it's actually not curved, never mind. But yeah, so Pixel has a little bit worse display, and in terms of the Google Tensor chip, I don't know how well it performs against the Snapdragon 888, so that is something that would need to be tested. But the prices are basically exactly the same, and the Pixel, apart from the display, is, well, unquestionably processor, has the rest of the device better than this. Cameras will be what I would call better, in my opinion, though at this point it's more of a preference choice. And yeah, now if you want Samsung just because it's Samsung, that's fine. This device seems to be fairly okay. The display looks nice, though wouldn't mind having it a little bit brighter just so it looks a little bit better. There we go. So yeah, the display looks nice. It has a really minimal bezels, as you can see right here, and obviously it's going to run blazingly fast. It is more of a compact device at 6.4 inches, which it's kind of funny saying that 6.4 inch display is compact, but if you, for instance, compare it to something like a 6 Pro Pixel, here you go, I can get a nice look of what the difference in size is here. So this is 6.7, I believe, inches, and it kind of makes this device look like a toy compared to just the sheer size of this one. And yeah, so anyway, the phone is really nice, though it's a little bit more on the budget side, something that I cannot really say about Pixel. Pixel feels a little bit more premium, even though it's at the same price tag. And apart from the display, if you're not planning to play games, I don't really see the reason to, I don't know, care about the processor that much, because most of the tasks will be similarly performed in a similar time. So just a, I don't know, 1/10 of a second doesn't really bother me that much, but to some people that might be a defining decision here. Personally, I would prefer Pixel. That's just my opinion. I prefer the UI of the Pixel being just a stock Google, as you can show you what that looks like. So here we go. That's basically how the Pixel 6 will look like. This is just a 6 Pro, so bigger one, but the UI is exactly the same. And as you can see, it's just a stock looking Android and nothing on top of it. So it looks really nice in my opinion. Performs really well, and has a different camera bump if anybody cares. Something that makes the phone not actually wobble on the when it's laid on the table, which personally I really like. Thanks Google. But going back to the actual phone right here, for 600 bucks, it's an okay device, though it doesn't really blow me away in any kind of regards. I do like the fact that they did include a really decent display in here for that price. So that is one massive positive, but well, the display and actually the processor, which makes the device really good, really competitively priced, but everything else kind of feels like it suffered because of it. The cameras, the build quality. So yeah, that's basically my overview of it. So just kind of like a last thought on it that will summarize it, I guess. It's a decent device for the price tag, though I would prefer Pixel. That's basically how simple it is for me. So anyway, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.